Hello, local units. My name is Rox Titan, and today we're going to be over the Week 10 match that happened between Ne Plus Ultra and Orbit. So let's jump straight into the first clip. Uh, so here we have just Orbit controlling the disc on the offensive side against Ne Plus Ultra. They are able to make the pass up off of the good bounce off up to Sneaky. Unfortunately, a little bit of a rough pass to Altered, but back to Sneaky, and then Zenith is able to pick it up and get the point. So for this clip, I kind of wanted to just go over each pass individually and point out why they were good or bad. So this pass is actually really good because even though it looks like it's quite a ways off from getting to Sneaky, um, the line of sight between this player and Sneaky is pretty blocked by Bowtie, and so this is actually a pretty good bounce pass up to Sneaky. Unfortunately, this pass is a little bit rougher, and when you're in the situation that Altered is in, and you're on the backboard. So backboard is a position that a lot of players like to play. And if this pass had been on target, if it had gone right to his hands here, he would have definitely been able to just jump down and score right there. That would have been the end of it. But because it was bad, if you're playing this position, you need to recognize that this is a bad pass. And you need to know that you don't have time to take your time and make a play that you want to make. You have to rely on your teammates here, especially when you have to chase the disc down, because this is an opportunity for Ne Plus to jump out, pressure you while you're still chasing the disc, and that's a chance for them to get a clear. So if you're Altered's teammates here, you need to be letting him know that he needs to slap it backwards immediately to nest, because Zenithir is on nest, he's wide open, and he's anchored. So this pass could go right up into the ceiling. The ceiling is tilted here, so it would come down and turn in the middle. Zenith can grab that, and the goal is wide open. He can slap it straight back up high. Zenith can still jump off and get to that disc. He can slap it, obviously, straight back to him. He can slap it low. Zenith can probably still get to it. He can slap it left or right. Again, he's anchored. He's going to get to a lot of different slaps backwards. They just need to know that the general area he needs to be passing to is nest, and he needs to make that pass immediately. Unfortunately, you can see he does take a little bit, half a second, where he grabs the disc, grabs the wall, and then turns around here. Let's see if we can get a... Yeah, so he tries to turn, and he tries to give himself his own information so he can make a better pass, I guess is what he's looking for. But in that situation, you just need to know that if a pass isn't perfect to somebody on the backboard, they do not have a lot of time at all. And you see here, as soon as he gets the disc, he maybe takes like half a second with the disc and does get punched. It does work out for Orbit because instead of grabbing the disc when they punched him out, they just kind of they headbutt it, which is unfortunate. But definitely a misplay by the player on the backboard and not immediately clearing back. Or maybe a misplay on his teammates for not communicating properly where he needed to get the disc and he had to turn around and look himself. But regardless, let's go into the second clip here. Unfortunately, a bad clear by Orbit. Doesn't end up in trap. Doesn't get slapped out, though, and the boost comes quickly by Orbit. So something I first wanted to point out here is when the disc goes down in the trap here, all four of the Ne Plus Ultra members are here. Nothing wrong with that because there's a bad clear. They're trying to win this brawl in the trap. It's kind of a hard spot to get the disc out of, especially if you're the defense trying to clear it through tunnel or something. They got a player covering tunnel. They're playing it properly. Orbit does get to the disc first, though. And something that I wanted to point out is just these two players. They're stacked up on the nugget here. And so they're covering a lot of different options. They're covering pretty much every option that could happen after this play runs its course. If their teammates get the disc and slap it like they do, they can obviously chain and chase it because they're chained together. If they grab the disc and pass it back, either it's a good pass back and this stack can grab the disc, clear it themselves, and then chase it, or if it's a bad pass back, they're chained together, they can chase it down anyway. If Ne Plus Ultra is able to get the disc, they don't really have any passes to make because they're all together. So they can basically only just kind of clear it out of the area because it's obviously a very volatile area. So they want to try and get it out of this place. They might just like push it, just slap it across and then try and chase it down. In which case, again, this stack is going to chase it and get there first. One of their players could also grab it and just go for a shot. But even without the stack, this is a good position to be because they're right between the shooting lane. So there's no shots getting in from Ne Plus Ultra here. And so this stack does a really good job of being in a good spot at a good time and is able to cover pretty much every option that could have happened out of this little play that's going on here. They do also do something, although it does end up getting executed pretty poorly, they do have a good idea with this. They send a player, you can see here they're split now. One player's going for the disc, one player's going for the rim. So they can go for the three-pointer. And if the three-pointer misses, the idea is anyway, is that this player's going to be on the rim. And so if the shot misses, that player can still grab it and then put it in for the two. And you just take the consolation prize. The shot does go off a little bit before the player gets to the rim, though. It takes a little bit, too little time. He does have the stat coming, though. So he doesn't have a whole lot of time. But he could have taken an extra, like, quarter of a second it took for his teammate to get there. And the shot wouldn't have been squandered like this. But in general, except for that last little bit of missed execution by Orbit, a really good play by them. So go to clip 3. And you see here just a good floor juke by Brennan, who takes the shot and ended up going in. So just quick tip as a sort of for goalies is that in this situation, you can see Sneaky kind of backed away from the goal because he was reading the backboard. He predicted that Brennan was going to make the backboard shot, and he was trying to preemptively position himself so he could make that save easier on himself. That's almost never the read you really want to be making, though, because that is it's a risky read. Sometimes it is one you want to go for, but not often, and almost never in a position like this. Because if you're reading the back, so if you read the backboard, let's say that you cover front, so you predict front, so you position yourself to cover front, and they throw it backboard. The bounce off of backboard before it gets into the goal takes like an extra maybe a quarter of a second to a half a second, depending on the disc speed, for that disc to bounce and get in. That gives you an extra half a second if you're covering the front side of the net to, if they don't throw it front side of the net and they throw it off the backboard instead, gives you an extra maybe half a second or 0.25 seconds to try and react, turn around, and grab that disc before it does go in. Versus if you try and cover the back, if you predict the back and cover the back, and the disc gets thrown front, there's no time delay. You don't really have time to get to that disc. And so if your guess is wrong, it's a goal. Whereas if you're covering the front and then they throw it back, you still have a chance to save it, especially in a position like this, because if he throws this disc, the only way he's getting it in the backboard is if he throws it kind of this bottom portion of the backboard. And if he throws it there, it's going to bounce lower half of the goal. So if he throws it backboard, there's only so many spaces it can go in the goal. And so that's a save that you can make almost without even looking sometimes if he had gone backboard here. Because if you threw it against this bottom part, he's not quite low enough. So any shots on the pyramid would have probably just bounced down and missed. And so just a tip, especially in positions like this. Sometimes you do have to go read for the backboard, specifically if the players are coming from the side area, like on either side. Sometimes you want to read the backboard pyramid shot, but again, that's more because they can't really take a shot on the goal from that angle. This angle is still very easy for Brennan to make, and just making kind of a poor read by Sneaky, and they just does end up getting scored for them. Let's go to the next clip. This is probably one of my favorite clips that we've seen in VRML so far to this point, just because you can see, well, you can see here just Orbit's controlling the disc. They're being patient. They're passing it around. They're baiting the defenders, and they do end up making the cross pass and getting the point here. But what I love about this clip so much is that this is not the moment that the disc got scored. As you can tell, actually a lot earlier in this clip, you can tell the exact moment where Orbit scored the points and where Niplus lost. And you can see it, I'll point out to you. You can see here, just as a setup, Niplus is playing pretty solid bubble defense. They did their goalie's punch, but they have a player playing the rim, covering this backboard, kind of covering this player. They have a chain pressuring this player, not anymore, but they're covering it. They're pressuring, they're holding the pillar. Covering the pillar is really strong because the pillar is a really strong space to be for the offensive players. And so denying it by covering from the pillar is a really good defensive strategy. You can see Sneaky just kind of controlling the disc. And then right here, this is when Orbit scores the goal. This is when they win the play. Because as soon as they make this pass is a little bit too close to the goal for comfort for Niplus. And you can see instead of playing this bubble defense that they've been playing this entire time, all the players immediately jump on him. And this is when they lost. Because now instead of playing this calm, collected defense where they're spreading out, covering the bubble, they're now all bunched up, and they are now putty in Orbit's hands. The pass gets made. The pass here gets made again. You can see here, this player's on the same pillar that I said was a really strong spot for offense. And he has all four because now Orbit's, or not, because now an E plus is in this kind of panic state after this play down at the bottom here. All four of these players are completely focused on this player. And you can see the two defenders here don't even react to the disc getting crossed into Sneaky. So there's a super strong play by Orbit. Super cool to see them playing this way and baiting the defenders out, making them panic, and then capitalizing on the mistakes. So just a really strong play from Orbit, and huge kudos for that. So now go to clip 5. You can see here another kind of similar situation. Orbit's controlling the disc, holding on, being careful, passing it among themselves. And they do end up getting the scoring off the backboard. But something I wanted to point out, now on the other side, as an E+, kind of why this fell apart a lot quicker than the last play did, why it took a lot less work from Orbit, is because you can see here, so Brennan here is holding on to the pillar, doing the same thing I said before, denying this pillar because it's a strong spot for offense. Sneaky kind of can't really advance anywhere, so he has to make a pass. He has to make an offensive play with his team. On the flip side, you can see B-Love here kind of goes, he grabs the block in front of goal. So there's a player in goal blocking because he probably knows there's somebody in the backboard. There's a player here who's just holding onto the block, and there's a player here who's holding onto the shield. Both of these players, one holding on the block and the one holding on the shield, aren't really covering anything. There's a player on the floor, neither one of them are covering that. There's a player on the ceiling, neither one of them are covering that. And there's a player on the backboard, and neither one of them are covering that either. They're both covering the nest/shield pass, but that pass isn't actually something that Orbit's utilizing here. And so they're kind of just like, it feels like they're almost on autopilot, where they're covering a pass that Orbit isn't utilizing. They're covering this middle lane into goal, which is a really strong lane for the offense, to be fair, but it's not one that's being actually used. There's nobody here for them to be covering. And so both these players are just kind of not covering anything, and that allows Orbit to score this disc a lot faster than they did in the last play with the pass to the backboard. Just one last thing. So just like, never mind. I don't know what I was gonna say. So the last clip. So disc gets taken by Knee Plus. You can see Knee Plus kind of controlling the disc here. Player gets punched, but the pass goes back to the punched player, who then takes control of it, makes a pass to his teammate. Teammates gets pressured here, makes a pass to his teammate, pass straight back. Knee Plus also just doing a really good job of controlling the disc here. Unfortunately, they do go for the little duck juke there, and it does end up getting stolen. But just in general, this play, Knee Plus really, you can tell they understand the punch timing well, because this player's punched out, but that only means he's disabled for like 2 or 3 seconds. And so the pass goes back to him. He's right back up off of being punched, and he's able to make the play with the disc again. And so they're really using all the pieces here. Citizen again makes the pass, gets punched out, makes the pass, gets punched out, makes the pass, gets punched out. They're all just playing really well. And you can see it takes a while, but Orbit finally adapts, because they keep going for the punch on all these plays. And you can see they finally decide, after they keep punching people and the disc keeps getting thrown anyway, they finally are able to adapt and are able to go for the disc steal here. So that works out for them. But it was a good game. You can see that was the potentially, this passing string was potentially the game-winning string for Knee Plus, but they were able to eventually. The advance was a little bit too slow, but in general, just good play from them. At this point, this duck here isn't really bad in a vacuum, but because of the context to this is round 3, the last like 11 seconds, right? At this point, Knee Plus Ultra had gotten away with a lot of juking, and so Orbit had kind of grown accustomed to that. So this play, while trying to, especially after all this passing that Knee Plus has done, you'd expect normally that a team would kind of get conditioned to trying to read passes and going for the disc. And so going for a duck is a good mix up here. But because of the context of the rest of this series that was played before this, Orbit is already too conditioned into looking for the dodge, especially from Brennan here. And when he does go for the duck, he does get it stolen from him, and the discus get cleared by Orbit, and that's the game for Orbit, winning the game in round 3 with a 2-goal lead. So really close match, really good match. It was a pleasure to watch, and thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.